Yes.
Herb Frisky and just all that stuff.
Well, the problem is when everybody sleeps in the same bed.
Hello, this is Iris Potter calling in. I wanted to ensure how I would be able to make a public comment today.
It says he preferred me being here, so I'm sure that works too. Okay. But he might want to ask if you want to do a switch when you start talking. Oh no, ask that.
Hello, I can let you know that the meeting has not yet started. It should be starting shortly. If you can hold on the phone until we get to the public comment portion of the meeting, they will give directions on how to provide the public comment. If you just stay on the phone until the end of the meeting, we'll get to that soon.
When are Can you tell me when the public comments are in the meeting?
They are towards the end of the meeting.
Towards the end of the meeting, not at the beginning. Okay.
Correct.
So approximately what time would that be? Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, I don't. I think they're getting ready to start.
Okay. How long is the meeting scheduled for? 2 hours, 1 hour? Is there any schedule?
They're typically less than an hour.
That's good. My name is Dan Scripps. I'm chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the commission to order on March 17th, 2022 at 1:03 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Present?
Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner Paratek.
Present?
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway, Lansing, Michigan. We're also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Live Event. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via the live stream, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the closed caption or CC button in the lower right corner of the screen. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess but will continue in person. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comment via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in the Q&A feature on the live stream event on your computer and in the meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments should be limited to one per person and can be made verbally in person or by calling in or in writing via the live stream Q&A feature. If you are participating via Teams application, you can use the Q&A feature and type your comments in the box anytime during our meeting, and we will have those queued up to read. The Q&A function should be used to submit public comments to the Commission. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so either in person or by calling into the meeting by phone. And to minimize disruptions, attendees participating by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. I'm also aware that we have a larger than usual number of individuals wishing to make public comments this afternoon. While this meeting is only scheduled to last until 2 p.m., we are able to stay a bit longer in order to hear from more members of the public, but we will have to wrap up by 2:45 p.m. in order to honor other commitments. That said, additional comments about a specific case may be submitted to the Commission by email at mpscedockets@michigan.gov. Please include the case number in your comments if possible, and those comments will be added to the docket for that case. And for other comments, again, you can send them to mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 3rd, 2022 Commission meeting.
I move for approval of the minutes from the March 3rd, 2022 Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the March 3rd, 2022 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries by a unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2022 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Blair Renfro. Mr. Renfro.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 5 communications, 4 electric matters, and 2 gas matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A1 is case number U-20629, which involves the amendment of the rules governing the service quality and reliability standards for electric distribution systems. The order before you approves the proposed rules and authorizes their submission to the Legislative Service Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules for their formal approvals.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20629.
I second the motion.
Before we vote on this, I just want to highlight a few things from this, as well as the rules updating our technical standards for electric service and the billing rules that we'll be addressing later in the agenda. In my mind, these address some significant opportunities for improvement of our rules and an opportunity to address better situations involving the reliability of our electric system. In particular, today, for outages, a customer needs to make the utility aware that they're eligible for a bill credit, and if they do so and meet the criteria, they're eligible for a $25 credit, regardless of how long the outage lasts. These, among other things, these rule additions improve that from $25 to $35 and make the credit automatic, as well as authorizing an additional $35 for each additional day that the customer remains without power. That alone, I think, represents a significant improvement over the status quo, and there are a number of other elements involved as well. I want to thank the folks from our electric operations section for their leadership in helping us to get to this point, as well as the other folks who commented on the rules. There are a number of comments that we received and worked through and are reflected in the updates in front of us today. This is the second of 3 orders in the process for updating these rules. So as Mr. Renfro said, they will now go to the Legislative Services Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules, and then the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules before they're finally updated. But this is a significant step in that process, and I again want to thank all involved. Is there any further discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20629 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A2 is case number U-20630, which involves the amendment of the rules governing the technical standards for electric service. The order before you approves the proposed rules and authorizes their submission to the Legislative Service Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules for their formal approvals.
Thank you once again. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20630.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20630 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A3 is case numbers U-20867 et al., which involve an application filed by Indiana Michigan Power Company requesting approval of the company's reconciliation of its 2020 Energy Waste Reduction Program costs and revenues and associated rate adjustments, as well as authority to implement a revised energy waste reduction surcharge rider. The order before you approves the company's 2020 Energy Waste Reduction Reconciliation, finds that the company has not complied with Public Act 295 of 2008 as amended, directs the company to file quarterly reports detailing its efforts to come into compliance, and directs the company to file an explanation of the impact of its unachieved energy waste reduction savings on its power supply costs and needs in case number U-20805.
Thank you once again. I move for approval of the order in case numbers U-20867 et al.
I second the motion.
And briefly on this as well, this is obviously not a situation that we'd like to find ourselves in with a company that is failing to comply with the cost-effective energy waste reduction requirements contained in statute as passed by the legislature. My hope is that we quickly get back on track, and I think there's a number of provisions in this order to encourage that direction, but it's something that we take very seriously, failure to comply with Michigan's energy laws, and I hope that we're in a better place and soon. Any additional comments on this?
No, sir.
We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-20867 et al. Is approved. Recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A4 is case number U-20875, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting approval of its energy waste reduction plan for the years 2022 through 2025 and other related relief. The order before you approves a settlement agreement resolving all issues in the case.
I move for approval of the order in case number U-20875.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I do have brief comments I would like to make. I want to give thanks and recognize our staff, the company, and interveners, including the Attorney General's Office, National Housing Trust, NRDC, Sierra Club, among others, for reaching an agreement that once again exemplifies a genuine and consistent commitment to by the parties to advance equity, customer affordability, accessibility, and data transparency as it relates to the development and implementation of utility energy waste reduction plans. The elements agreed to in this settlement and also reflected in the DTE Electric and DTE Gas settlements approved by the Commission on January 20th of this year include creating more consistent and clear ties between energy assistance and utility EWR programs, using utility data to more accurately and effectively deploy EWR programs in communities most in need of those services, and ramping up efforts to grow and retain local minority suppliers and contractors. These are elements that have been agreed to in both of the settlements on January 20th, as well as the settlement proposed to us today. And it will continue to position Michigan at the forefront nationally as we enter a new stage and harness more of the potential savings and benefits from energy efficiency programs, and really harness the ability for such programs to improve the financial and physical health of ratepayers across the state of Michigan. And most importantly, the approval of the settlement today would mean that the vast majority of electric and gas customers in the state will be able to benefit from markedly improved EWR plans that not only recognize but aim to better address energy burdens that plague many Michigan households and communities across this state. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20875 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A5 is case number U-20890, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to promulgate rules governing electric interconnection and distributed generation, and to rescind legacy net metering rules. The order before you approves the proposed rules and authorizes their submission to the Legislative Service Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules for their formal approvals.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20890.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to all the parties who participated in this process. It really is vitally important that we update regulation as technology changes and our world advances. I'm especially thankful for the extensive work the utilities, stakeholders, and commission staff did to update these important rules. This has truly been a heavy lift. It started back in November of 2018, and the milestone today is a significant one. We're set to approve the updated rule sets for interconnection and distributed generation standards and the electric interconnection and net metering standards, and submit to the Legislative Service Bureau and Michigan Office of Administrative Hearing and Rules for their formal approvals, and upon approval, transmitted to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. These are the rule sets that govern how distributed generation assets interconnect to the broader distribution grid, and modifications include, among other things, ensuring there's a path for distributed generation customers to connect to the grid outside the legacy net metering or distributed generation programs, establishing fees paid by the interconnecting party, adjusting processing and review times, modifying screening processes, allowing for alternative study process, and, importantly, adding guidance for review and evaluation of limited and non-exporting DERs. This is an important step toward advancing these rule sets to ensure Michigan is staying up to date with the needs of our changing and improving electric grid.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any further discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20890 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A7 is case number U-21023, which involves an ex parte application by DTE Electric Company for approval of amendments to its interruptible tariffs as directed in case number U-20628. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you once again. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21023.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21023 is approved. And Mr. Renfro, as we turn it back, I think we did 4A7 there, and I think we need to do 4A6.
Item 4A6 is case number U-20963, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for authority to increase its rates for the generation and distribution of electricity. The order before you grants the petition for rehearing filed by Consumers Energy Company.
Good catch, Chair.
Yeah.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20963.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20963 is approved. Mr. Renfro.
Now the item 4A8 is case number U-21090, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for approval of an integrated resource plan pursuant to MCL 460.6T. The order before you grants applications for leave to appeal filed by Consumers Energy Company and Dearborn Industrial Generation, LLC, and affirms the administrative law judge's December 28, 2021 ruling.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21090.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. No. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21090 is approved. Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A9 is case number U-21097, which involves an application filed by Northern States Power Company for authority to increase electric rates in Michigan. Staff member Cheryl Kirkland will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. On September 22nd, 2021, Northern States Power Company filed an application with the Commission for authority to amend its rates for electric service and for other relief. The rate increase requested in this proceeding is based on the company's projections for investment, expenses, and revenue for the 12-month period ending December 31st, 2022. Northern States Power Company requested an increase to its electric base rates of $2.5 million. The company filed testimony and exhibits showing a revenue deficiency of $2,130,513 based on a projected test year that assumed a return on common equity of 10.20% and to recover $400,000 of depreciation and interest expense that was deferred in 2021 as a regulatory asset, consistent with case number U-20901. Parties to the case included Northern States Power Company, the Association of Businesses Advocating Tariff Equity, Michigan Department of Attorney General, Citizens Utility Board of Michigan, and MPSC staff. Following negotiations, the parties to this case reached a settlement agreement. The settlement agreement provides that Northern States Power Company should be authorized to increase annual revenues by $1.7 million and to amortize over 4 years the depreciation deferral total of $400,000 authorized in case number U-20901. The company's rates are based on the following: a total revenue requirement of $2,530,513, a return on common equity of 9.7%, and an overall electric rate of return of 5.89%. The parties further agree that Northern States Power Company will implement an earnings share mechanism for the calendar years of 2022 and 2023, whereby company will refund to its Michigan electric customers 100% of Michigan jurisdictional earnings above the authorized rate of return on common equity of 9.7%. The parties also agree that Northern States Power Company shall implement as soon as practicable in 2022 a low-income assistance service program. For the calendar years of 2022 and 2023, Northern States Power Company agrees to donate $25,000 per year for low-income utility bill assistance. Northern States Power Company will not seek an increase on its Michigan electric base rates prior to January 1st, 2024. Over the calendar years of 2022 and 2023, Northern States Power Company also agreed to perform no less than a cumulative total of 75 miles of vegetation maintenance on overhead lines located in its Michigan electric service area. Northern States Power Company also agreed to provide a plan to reduce electric outages in its Michigan service territory and improve electric service reliability. Northern States Power Company will also provide comparative actual reliability data for its Michigan service territory for the relevant historic period. The order before you approves the settlement agreement and adopts a 2022 test year, a total revenue requirement of $2.5 million, an authorized return on common equity of 9.7%, and an overall rate of return of 5.89%. Northern States Power Company is authorized to implement the rate increase and tariffs approved by this order on April 1st, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkland. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21097.
I second the motion.
Before we vote on this item, I just want to thank the parties involved, including the utility, our staff, and organizations representing business and residential customers for their work. The settlement agreement before us represents what I think is a constructive approach that balances the need for additional capital investment, an emphasis on reducing outages and improving reliability through distribution upgrades, and a commitment to vegetation management, and a continued focus on affordability for customers in the Western Upper Peninsula, with particular emphasis on assistance for low-income customers. And again, I appreciate the engagement of the parties involved and the willingness to find a consensus approach to resolving the many issues. Is there any further discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21097 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A10 is case number U-21150, which involves the amendment of the rules governing the consumer standards and billing practices for electric and natural gas service. The order before you approves the proposed rules and authorizes their submission to the Legislative Service Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules for their formal approvals.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21150.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21150 is approved. And for the last time today, I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A11 is case numbers U-21204 et al., which will assign docket numbers and filing deadlines for the 2021 Energy Waste Reduction Reconciliation Proceedings and Annual Reports.
Thank you once again. I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21204 et al.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-21204 et al. is approved. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First, individuals attending in person. Next, written comments from individuals using the Microsoft Teams live stream Q&A. Then verbal comments from individuals submitting names in the Q&A feature and who have called into the meeting. And finally, from individuals participating only through the phone option. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live. And please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. Again, we have about an hour and a half, a little less than that, in order to hear from as many people as we possibly can. We have a number of cards here, and I'll call names in the order that we've received them. And we'll get to as many of you as we possibly can. And then again, if there are additional comments that we don't get to today and or that you want to add additional comments into the docket, you can email those to mpscedockets@michigan.gov. And please, again, include the case number if possible. Your comments will be added to the docket for that case. For other comments, you can send them to mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. So first, and I'll try and do these, I'll call sort of two at a time. So the person that I'm calling and then the person who would be on deck, just so that you can get ready. So first we have Thomas Topolsky, and I'll just apologize in advance if I butcher any names. And then I think we've got Pat Ahrens after Mr. Topolsky. Mr. Topolsky?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Tom Topolsky. I live in Hudsonville. Last year and over a decade ago, since Enbridge caused the biggest inland oil spill in history in Marshall, Michigan, my friends went fishing on the Kalamazoo River. When they were done fishing, they took the boat out of the water and found on the entire bottom of his outside boat oil. That Enbridge oil spill happened in July of 2010. And no matter what positive Enbridge ad you see on TV, any Michigander can easily see miles down the Kalamazoo River, its water environment hasn't recovered from, nor has it been effectively corrected by Enbridge. On any sunny day, if you walk along the Kalamazoo River miles from the accident, you will see the sheen of oil on the water, and that's today, right now. The river is ruined, and I think Michigan should have learned many lessons, but the most important lesson is this. All the promises made by Enbridge on the safety of its pipelines, all the oversight it promises, and the promises to fix their accidents are overshadowed by this fact. Once an Enbridge pipe breaks and leaks oil, the environment cannot be brought back as good as it once was. This environmental tragedy and many other Michigan oil spills caused by Enbridge show it's not if, but when another tragedy will occur. The people of our state depend on Lake Michigan for drinking water. Fishermen like me and my friends depend that the fish we catch in Lake Michigan aren't poisoned with oil. If there is a natural catastrophe or an explosion caused by a leaking methane or a terrorist or an unforeseen accident, fishing is gone, recreation is gone, tourism is gone. 40 million people who depend on Lake Michigan for drinking water is gone, along with millions upon millions of jobs that depend on Lake Michigan's environment. They are all gone. It's very straightforward. Michigan residents and all Americans can do just fine without this new Enbridge tunnel, but they cannot do without fresh water from Lake Michigan. The fact is, Enbridge can divert the oil going through its new tunnel through other of its many oil lines. Why should Michigan take this unnecessary step that should be seen as a ticking time bomb? And I'll end with this. The risk to Michigan's environment is entirely on Michiganders, while the reward is all in Canada's corner. Let's send a strong message to those making the decision and can stop this tunnel. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of concerned fishermen like me and citizens like me. And I want to thank you for your service to the Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Topolsky. I have Pat Aaron and then Mary Blanchard.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Aarons, and I live in Mason, Michigan. For 16 years, we lived in Alpena, so I was well aware of Enbridge. And Line 5 and the potential of a catastrophe. Preparing for this meeting, I went to your MPS Commission website and read some of your last minutes for 2022. Your commission is charged with numerous responsibilities, and I'm sure that you have read and heard many times the long list of concerns that a spill would create for our pure Michigan. With all of your responsibilities, have you or your staff been able to travel and listen to the Indigenous and other communities that would be affected primarily, will all be affected, but primarily their lifestyle by a spill? Please ask yourselves, is there a public need? If so, is there a better alternative? When there is a spill and we cannot enjoy pure Michigan, how will you feel? Will you feel responsible? For pure Michigan, please reject Act 16 certificate. And this is a quote from Rachel Carson. Man is part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aaron. We have Mary Blanchard and then Madison Goff.
Mary Blanchard, and I'm from Holly, Michigan. I'd like to thank the Michigan Public Service Commission for the opportunity to speak regarding the permit for Enbridge Tunnel through the states of Mackinac. By virtue of your own name, Michigan Public Service Commission, you have an obligation to keep the interests of the state of Michigan, our residents, our taxpayers, current and future, at the basis of your decision, not the interests of a foreign corporation intent on maintaining a profit. The safety of the tunnel construction is not assured. Even the test drilling was not without problems, as 2 huge drill bits were left on the lake bed, and one had to be rescued when it turned head-on into the pipeline with the shifting currents. The Line 5 pipeline cannot continue to be used, as it has long surpassed its expected use, and the altered design of lifting the pipeline off the lakebed puts it at even more risk, as recurrent anchor strikes have demonstrated. Enbridge has already stated that at a federal level that they expect this pipeline to have a much earlier end date of usage than previously expected. Major auto companies in Michigan and across the world have indicated they are changing to battery-powered vehicles, which will significantly alter the need of the tunnel. Once Enbridge stops making a profit, they will abandon the tunnel, and Michigan will be left with an obsolete aging drain on our environment and resources indefinitely. As a current taxpayer and speaking for the interests of my children, their children, and their grandchildren, we should not be entering into agreements now that will have long-standing negative effects. Michigan must protect the 21% of the world's fresh water that is in and around our state. Wastewater anticipated involved in the construction could also be an environmental risk. The Michigan Public Service Commission has an obligation to protect our people, our water, our environment, and our economy now and long into the future. Please deny the permit to allow Enbridge to construct the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchard. We have Madison Goff, and then Yesh Preya, that's why I should do this in advance, Yesh Machuri. Ms. Goff?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Madison Goff. I'm a resident of West Bloomfield. There's no public need for Line 5. General Motors and other automotive companies are phasing out internal combustion engines, with General Motors planning for an all-electric fleet by 2035. The need for products transported through Line 5 will be rapidly declining over the next several years. In addition to the automotive industry's push to reduce carbon emissions, our own state has released the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan, with the goal of Michigan becoming carbon neutral by 2050. The existence of Line 5 is not aligned with reducing carbon emissions or other climate goals. Please decommission Line 5. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Goff. And Yesh Preet, again, apologies for mangling your name. And after Yesh Preet, we've got Mary Ann Roten.
No problem at all. My name is Yashpreet Matharu, and I am a concerned citizen. I'm a Sikh, and in the Sikh community, we give water as a life-giving source, the equivalent kind of power as a mother. And I don't think that Enbridge as a company is giving water the respect that it deserves. Of course, we've heard already that the Kalamazoo Oil Spill was their responsibility in itself. And I guarantee you that an oil spill in the Straits of Mackinac would be much worse. Those effects of the Kalamazoo took at least 5 years to be considered clean, and I'm sure that in the Straits it would be much worse. I also have a problem with Enbridge's marketing for protecting their pipeline. They made a claim that if you were to turn off the pipeline and ship everything via trucks or whatever it is, it would be worse for the environment, which is a very bad faith argument because there are other pipelines that would pipe the same oil. And are we not trying to move away from oil? Are we not trying to move into sustainable energy and things like that? We don't need another pipeline, especially at the risk that it provides to our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Roten, and then Darman Montagnu.
Hi, thanks Commissioners for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Mary Ann Routen, and I'm a resident of Lake Orion, Michigan, and I'm here today to ask the Public Service Commission to protect the health and well-being of the people of Michigan and their environment by decommissioning the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline and rejecting the tunnel project. Our Great Lakes are the pride and joy of every Michigander, as well as an economic powerhouse that supports more than 1.3 million jobs and generates $82 billion in annual wages in the Great Lakes region. To jeopardize this vital asset with the risky construction of an oil pipeline tunnel by a company that has demonstrated willful negligence in the past when trusted with our waters will make the Commission complicit in Enbridge's future failures. Study after study has been released telling us that the perceived benefits of construction are not worth risking our waters. Most recently, the estimated cost of an oil spill in the Great Lakes surpasses $6 billion in direct economic impacts. It's a big number. Disruptive construction near the aging and unstable Line 5 will only make the likelihood of an oil spill a reality. However, dollars and numbers alone cannot quantify what we lose when we put oil interests above our fresh waters. Michiganders will hold their breath as we watch you decide the fate of our Great Lakes. Please do your duty to protect our water from the tremendous risk that Line 5 and the tunnel project presents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roden. Darman Montagno, and then Noah Nichols.
Hi, my name is Dharma Montagno. I'm a resident of Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'd like to start by saying that oil and water do not mix. Line 5 was built with barely enough integrity to last 50 years, and we are coming up on 2 decades past that timeline. It is time for Line 5 to be fully decommissioned and not revitalized. To wrap something broken in another fragile piece of infrastructure is not a long-term solution. Risk of explosion during prolonged construction due to dissolved methane above reportable limits were discovered during geotechnical investigation. 3 studies have confirmed that decommissioning lines would not result in major prices increases or shortages in oil or gas. Is it worth it to risk workers' health and safety and our beautiful Great Lakes for no good payout for the citizens of Michigan? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montagno. Noah Nichols, and then Andrea Pierce.
Hi, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Noah Nichols, and I'm a resident of East Tawas, Michigan. There we go. It's on the shores of Lake Huron, and I'm here to add my voice to the many in opposition to Line 5 and the project to construct the tunnel. Specifically, continuing to allow an oil pipeline to operate in the Straits of Mackinac goes against the economic interests of Michigan. We are considered the state that put the world on wheels through the might of our automotive industries. However, we have this new opportunity to put the world on new, better wheels. Electric cars is what I'm talking about. GM has announced that they would produce an all-electric fleet out on their lines by 2035, and to allow the faucet of an oil pipeline to continue to flow through the state of Michigan goes against the natural progression of our state's economy and the outlook or the future that we want of sustainable energy in Michigan. Besides the economic impact, the thought of an oil spill is deep in my heart for my family's home on Lake Huron. I grew up fishing, playing in the sand and water, and forming some of my fondest memories playing in the waters of Lake Huron, and an oil spill reaching my shores, my family's home, is too much to bear in my heart. It'll strip future generations of the opportunity to have the chances that I had to enjoy the natural beauty of Michigan pictured in all of these photos around the room. So I ask you, please reject the Line 5 project tunnel and go one step further to decommission the entire line. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Andrea Pierce, and then Lauren Sargent.
Ani, bonjour. Wasanede Quish, sorry, I got nervous. Wasanede Kwe Indishnikov, Wakanaka Singodawa Nadal. I am Andrea Pierce. I live in Ypsilanti, but my people, I'm Nishnabik, are from Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians up in Harbor Springs, Petoskey area. My tribe is up through Mackinac. So my people will be directly infected by anything that happens at Line 5 in that tunnel that's being proposed. I was part of the team that 2 years ago, right before COVID, or right during COVID, discovered a 10,000-year-old site, sacred site, and the tribes are claiming it as a sacred site of Native Americans, the Anishinaabe, my people. We are claiming that as ours, and we need time to be able to research it, understand our culture better, without Enbridge going under and destroying everything, and they will destroy it. They've destroyed everything so far that they've touched. Kalamazoo, when that oil spill happened, I talked to Jamie Stuck from the Nataswepi band. He's the chairperson. In our town hall, he said they spent a lot of money fixing and cleaning up that Kalamazoo area. They received no recompense at all from Enbridge. So why are we continuously acting in good faith with a company that does not give a crap about any of us or our water? Why are we doing this? This makes no sense to me. And then when you talk about building the tunnel, you cannot forget the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous relations. we have 2 tribes, well, more than 2 tribes, 3 or 4 of them actually along that route, 2 particularly that would be involved, Sault Ste. Marie and the Little Traverse Bay Band Odawa Indians, whose women will be hurt. If you look at the news at all, you'll see that they've done sting operations over in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and they have found sexual human trafficking happening with Enbridge employees. My people do not want that in our territories. We don't want anything that can bring these people that will hurt our women and our men and our children into our territories. So I'm asking you to vote against Line 5, shut that down, and no tunnel, okay? Because it will hurt my people in so many different ways, our culture, our traditions, and our women, okay? Thank you.
Lauren Sargent, and then Rita Mitchell.
Good afternoon to members of the Michigan Public Service Commission and to my fellow Michiganders. My name is Lauren Sargent. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I'm a 5th generation Michigander, and I have relatives from Marshall, Michigan, where they experienced the Line 6B catastrophe. When I was a kid, Michigan had a license plate, Winter Water Wonderland. What is at stake here today puts that Michigan on the line, literally. Threatened by a decrepit fossil fuel pipeline 5 that is older than I am, and I am qualified for Social Security. Operated by Enbridge, a corporation based in Canada, bringing fossil fuels through Michigan to sell for profit. They have a track record of lies, shoddy maintenance, and the catastrophic rupture of Line 6B fouling the Kalamazoo River near Marshall that is still not and never will be remediated in my lifetime. As a retired psychologist, one of the very few rules in my field is that the best predictor of behavior is past behavior. The behavior that we can expect from Enbridge is more of the same, more failures and falsehoods. Why would we consider leaving the very lifeblood of our state, our freshwater seas, and all the life that depends on them in these untrustworthy hands? Now Enbridge wants to continue to operate precarious Line 5 while building a tunnel, the construction of which carries a very real risk of explosion from methane during construction, destroying Line 5, decimating our Great Lakes, and killing workers. There is no public need to allow this aged, ticking time bomb under the straits to continue to operate. This is the true ambition of Enbridge, in my opinion, to wring more profit from fossil fuels via Line 5, building a tunnel to nowhere, than leaving the people of Michigan with a stranded asset when oil well profits run dry. We, the public, need a truly prudent alternative, a no pipeline option. Then there's climate change, the truly irreversible threat to our winter water wonderland. We need to transition away from dependence on fossil fuels as if we are in a climate crisis, which we are. No new infrastructure for fossil fuels. We are in a hole, and the first step is to stop digging, literally. The future is electric, powered by renewable energy. GM, as you've heard from others, is even phasing out gas vehicles by 2035. We should not permit new infrastructure for obsolete technology. Please do not permit the tunnel. Line 5 needs to be decommissioned immediately. Please stand up for the people of Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sargent. Rita Mitchell, and then Sean McBrady.
Hello, I'm Rita Mitchell. I live in Ann Arbor. The mission of the Michigan Public Service Commission reads in part, to serve the public by ensuring safe, reliable, and accessible energy. Solar and wind power are safe, reliable, and accessible. And the rates are better than those for fossil fuels at this point. And at this point, we should stop facilitating that outdated fossil fuel energy source. I grew up with my feet and my whole body in the waters of the state of Michigan. And I want the children of our state to have the same kinds of safe experiences without having to worry whether they would exit a swim covered with tar balls or inadvertently swallow oily water. You have the decision-making power to protect the future of all Michigan waters, from the westernmost tip of the Upper Peninsula to the Monroe County border with Ohio. The Great Lakes hug our state and are all connected. Line 5 flows through the whole state, and if the pipeline breaks in the Straits or anywhere along its line, 645 miles, we will have a disaster, and you will have facilitated that resulting pollution. Please don't leave that as such an event of your legacy. If you approve a tunnel, you're not ensuring the safety of the entire state. The full length of the pipe is a risk to our land and water. In 1971, a tunnel exploded from a natural gas ignition in Lake Huron, a tunnel that was being built to support the Detroit water system. That explosion killed 17 people. It was one of the worst industrial accidents in Michigan history, according to the Detroit News. Don't put workers or innocent people in a position to repeat that risk. Please show that collectively we have learned not to take a safety risk of natural gas that will accumulate in a tunnel. Enbridge says that tunnel will virtually eliminate the chance of a pipeline incident in the Straits, but they'll give the tunnel to the Mackinac Straits Corridor Authority when they're done to hold that very risk. They'll be handing over their risk to us, the public. We need you to assure our safety and that of the water that we all need. Say no to Enbridge and stop this futile fossil fuel project for the safety of water, people, and all living beings. I'd like us to all be able to have these photos be something of our active future and not relics that would be a museum piece. Let's keep the oil out of the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Sean McBrady, and then Robert Laporte.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for allowing public comment today. My name is Sean McBrady, and I am the Coordinator of Oil and Water Don't Mix and the Legislative and Policy Director for Clean Water Action here in Michigan. And I'd like to start today just by thanking and commending the three of you for all of your work on this commission so far. In your tenure, there's been a noticeable change in the Michigan Public Service Commission in the way that you engage with the public, in your transparency, and in the efforts that you've obviously made to consider the public interest in all the cases pending before you. So I want to thank you very much for your work on that and your considerations of the fact that we need to be moving towards a clean energy future and saving our ratepayers money at the same time, which have been apparent in your rulings. I'm here to comment today, as well as most other folks here, on the Line 5 tunnel issue. The first thing I'd like to touch on is the public need for this project. Several of the briefs in the docket have argued that public need is determined either by a 1953 easement, meaning, I guess, that public need lasts for 70 years without change, which I don't think is the case, or they've relied on deals struck in the midnight hours of the Snyder administration behind closed doors that attempted to tie our state to this ill-fated oil tunnel plan. However, public need is broader than that, and your duty, as you know, as the Michigan Public Service Commission, is to make your own determination on public need, whether public need exists for this project. And multiple studies have shown, as has been pointed out, that decommissioning Line 5, which the no pipeline alternative ought to be considered here, but that if Line 5 is decommissioned, there will be very little impact on gas prices, both in Michigan, the Midwest generally, and also, in fact, in Canada. And not much opportunity at all for shortage, considering the extra capacity existing in Line 78, which is also a batch pipeline, which has doubled in size since 2014, and other ways of getting the oil to Sarnia. as well as what's been pointed out about, I won't harp on it too much, but that we are switching to clean energy. The auto industry is leading the way, and Enbridge has actually recognized this in their filings to FERC last year when they asked for a 20-year depreciation timeline for the Lakehead system. So they signed a 99-year tunnel lease with the state of Michigan, yet they're saying their pipelines are going to be worthless in 20 years. If they were being untruthful with FERC, there would be consequences. Lastly, I'd like to address the staff briefing shortly here. The staff brief on the Line 5 tunnel, I thought was regrettable. We expect the sort of patronizing attitude shown towards Bay Mills Indian community and other tribal interveners from Enbridge. We don't expect that sort of patronizing tone that was struck by the staff briefing on Line 5. And that was truly regrettable. The tribal interveners have a lot to bring to the case. The fact that so much of their comment is due to be stricken from the record, pending your ruling here, I think is truly regrettable, as is the tone of the staff briefing in that case. Lastly, I want to touch on the legacy of this commission. You all have done an admirable job so far, and I really do thank you for your work. All of the work that you've done so far to bring down energy prices and to push Michigan in the right way towards a clean energy future in wake of the climate crisis is good and admirable work. However, this case, I mean, as you know, there have been tens of thousands of comments already. This has been a public debated issue in Michigan for the last decade. And this ruling that you're going to make on Line 5 has the possibility of overshadowing all of the work that you've done so far. And so I really think this is going to be an issue, one of the rare issues. You're lucky and unlucky, I guess, to be the commissioners that are in place at this time when such a critical issue is coming up. And this is going to be an issue that helps to define your legacy as the Michigan Public Service Commission. So thank you very much for your work, and thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to comment and engage on this issue. John.
We have Robert Laporte and then Rick Bailey.
Thank you, Sean. Well done, and he is a great leader for all of us. But even more important, I would like to thank Chairman Scripps, our other two commissioners, and Michiganders. I live in Leelanau County, Elmwood Township. I'm a retired radiation oncologist, and yes, there is another Dr. Bob helping out with nonprofit organizations, and now I'm also helping Leelanau Clean Water. But oil and water doesn't mix, and I agree. I wanted to say, if anybody's interested in a term called a Michigander, you should look up what Abraham Lincoln and how he used that when he addressed Senators Cass that wanted to make an argument that all of the new states would be able to decide for themselves whether or not they would allow slavery. And Abe did not think that was right, and when he referred to Michiganders, he was actually making a slam that just like some silly geese following somebody who may not even know where he's going. So there is some history about that term. You might want to say a Michiganian, might be a little bit more appropriate. We have to remember that our Native American tribes have taken care of this tremendously blessed and sacred resource of fresh water for thousands of years, probably at least 10,000 years. Fish like sturgeon have been in the Great Lakes for 50 million years. And what have we done in the last couple hundred years? The story of history tells it all. It's called the paradox of abundance. With all this fresh water, what are we doing and what have we allowed to happen in the Great Lakes? Allow international ships to empty their bins? Yes. Allow for PBB poisoning of cattle that was a sacred resource for our farms and agriculture get buried in Kalkaska County? I mean, I grew up in East Tawas, Michigan also, and when the perch were like this, it was fantastic. But every single wonderful, sacred natural resource is bound to be decimated. And you look back, the bison, the beaver, you name it, everything, the passenger pigeons. We are now getting smart about this, and I'm glad that we're appreciating the effects on our environment and our future. We have to make it sustainable. So is there a public need? No. All this stuff about propane, well, you know what? Trucks can take it over from Superior, Wisconsin without a problem. There'll be a lot of companies up there that would love to distribute that. Is there a problem with people losing their work and jobs? No. The Upper Peninsula Task Force has already looked into that. Is there going to be a shortage of jet fuel at Detroit Metro? No, there isn't, because it's a very small amount that they get, like 5% from Line 5. And that refinery company, PDF, out of New Jersey, they have like 7 major refineries. Do you know how much money they make in a day? It's got to be billions. So I don't think there's any need for that. And thank goodness we've addressed the environmental concerns of this pipeline. You know, as a physics major at Western, I did learn one thing. When gases build up, they become more concentrated and more volatile. And when you have gas and oil moving through a pipeline, there's vapors that are not stoppable. There will always be vapors coming out of that product going through the pipeline. And that includes methane, propane, and butane. And when those concentrations reach a high enough level, guess what happens? It's extremely volatile. And we know methane is extremely volatile, way more than carbon dioxide. So if I'm over my time, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing that you guys are at least listening to me, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody being here. And please do what you are supposed to do and follow Act 16 and follow the regulations laid out by Michigan Environmental Protection Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Laporte. I have Rick Bailey and then Corrine Clark.
Hi, I'm Rich Bailey from Lansing, Michigan, right here. Not in this building, but thank you. Thank you, Chairman Scripps and Commissioners and fellow citizens of Michigan for being present. Our Public Service Commission serves as well, so I only address a few of the many considerations you are assigned under Act 116 and the Michigan Environmental Protection Act. First off, I've been on the board of the Michigan Audubon for the past 9 years. I'm a bird advocate, but I don't consider that a conflict of interest here. According to Aldo Leopold, and I quote, "Harmony with land is like harmony with a friend. You cannot cherish his right hand and chop off his left. That is to say, you cannot conserve the water and waste it." So this is my 3 minutes of appreciation. 1, is there a public need for maintaining this pipeline and constructing this tunnel? Truth tells me no. At least 3 major studies have confirmed that decommissioning the Line 5 pipeline will not result in major increases in price or shortages of oil and gas. Detroit Metro will not run out of fuel, although birds probably wish differently. 2, are the safety and engineering standards adequate for the pipeline and tunnel construction, operation, and maintenance? If you ask me, this tunnel proposal sounds like a plan to build the biggest pipe bomb in all of history. Bob explained the physics of that right before me. 3, all of the environmental considerations that are required by MEPA specifically have been addressed and filed into the records. The docket closed last Friday. Are there tremendous risks to our environment by allowing the Line 5 pipeline to continue operating? Yes, absolutely. Our chances of further harming the atmosphere and waters are present and real. We've already severely damaged our atmosphere with too much CO2 and methane. Will this project impair our natural resources and public trust? Yes, it will. If we allow this pipeline and tunnel to be permitted, we will fail our public duty. Without natural resources, there will be no economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Corrine Clark, and then Marshall Clavo.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hearing me. I live in Lansing. I agree with everything that's been said. I'm sure that those are facts that are already there. I speak to a larger point. We humans can't survive without fresh water for about a week, and those last couple days are going to be rough. Recently, there was a scientist in Indonesia that said, where in the world will it be survivable? Will the climate crisis be survivable? Where is the best place in the decades coming? The answer is exactly where we're sitting. So I would suggest to you that it is imperative that we not just protect the Great Lakes, the waters of the Great Lakes, for the future of Michiganders, but for the future of the entire existence of humanity. Because, you know, the climate crisis has brought, we don't even know how many challenges to our survival. But protecting these waters is most important. So thank you for your time.
Mark? Marshall Clabo, and then Nicole Biber.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Marshall Clabo, Lansing, Michigan resident. Look no further than the magnitude, the beauty on these walls, what's in front of us. The weight on your shoulders, the three of you, is immense. That's why you're there, though. You know, you can handle this. We got Gretchen Whitmer, Dana Nessel, Jocelyn Benson elected because they're water champions, and you guys are too. I have the utmost respect for the work you guys have done, changing the culture of this body. And I do regret that staff briefing. That was hard to read. Unprofessional, a tone I was not expecting. I want to take a moment though. We all have our own Lake Michigan story, right? What these waters mean to us, what this land means to us. Just take a moment to reflect on those good times. And mine goes back into my DNA, it's in my roots. My great-grandfather was invited by the native culture of Old Mission Peninsula to teach fruit farming on Old Mission Bay. He was the second white man to own land in the territory. He was the last lighthouse keeper, much similar to the one right here, 5 feet from you guys. I played in those waters, found Petoskey stones. Some of my earliest memories, climbing the cherry trees, eating those pits, picking them out, throwing them at my brother. You know, as we all have these memories, right? That's what's at risk, though, right now, all because of a foreign energy company. It's been a long battle against this pipeline. Since 2015, when I found out about it, I've talked to thousands of residents of the state of Michigan, hearing their stories, hearing their cries. I stand up here with their power behind me. I've investigated how to decentralize, how to microgrid our energy infrastructure, our future, through upcycling old laptop batteries, 18650 cells, the lithium ions, that GM $7 billion plant. I'm ahead of those cats. I'm recycling the laptop batteries. I know how to do it. I got a DOE grant in the hopper right now. Pull your strings. I hope we get that. Lansing, Michigan base, right here. We can do it. The public's, we had the Up North study led by Douglas Jester and many of you guys. These are some of the most brilliant minds in the world investigating this, proving that we don't need this infrastructure. It's time to shut it down. You guys have that power. You're one of the last lines of defense. I didn't go to that Mackinac corridor straight to meeting, and it was a political and emotional decision. I just couldn't go up there knowing the decision that they were going to make. But I came here today. I live 10 minutes down the road. I've been doing other things with my time. It's like 68 out. Beautiful day. But I know you guys care about your job, about the state, about the people, about your responsibility and service. And I respect that, and I thank you for that. And so, you know, you guys in the Army Corps of Engineers, that's all we got left. That's scary. It's sad. The serendipity of standing in the Lake Michigan room, come on. That script doesn't write itself. So thank you for your work. Shut this down. Your legacies are on the line. Our legacies are on the line. Service to the people speaking. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clabo.
Peace be upon you.
Nicole Biber, and then Moses Biber, if you want to come up together. We'll give you both 3 minutes.
I'll go first, okay, Moses. Bonjour, Nicole Dishnikas, Waganakasino Dawanda, Wabananang Natutgo. So I'm living here in, East Lansing, Michigan, and LTP Biodawa citizen with Moses here and our sister Andrea here today. So just regarding, again, this point in the process, this is one of many layers of decision making, and therefore, as was mentioned, the culpability and accountability as to results and attendant consequences are right here today with everyone present. So I have my 8-year-old Moses here with me, and that aligns with sort of the norms and standards of many tribal nations councils, including the Iroquois Confederacy, actually, that so influenced the democratic principles found in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. But, you know, from the beginnings of the United States, some were left out of those halls of power, and we see that in this continued struggle for inclusion. And the reason people were left out is because the end point was already decided upon. To maintain the power, it decided basically what matters most is the growth and seeking of wealth based on systems of exploitation. But for tribal nations, decisions of consequence were made with the expectation that women would be there, included and present, that children were there, that babies were there, because that would assure the proper mindset. And a meaningful set of priorities would be at the forefront. They couldn't be ignored, unable to be ignored. And you know, I loved your stronger language earlier when you were talking about that failure to comply with someone who was supposed to be like looking out for the interest of the people, and that was unfortunate and should be taken seriously. We know Enbridge is not complying, first of all, with the, you know, the sort of orders of our democratically elected governor, our attorney general, said, get rid of this line 5. It's not feasible anymore. That was ignored. And instead of taking that time, those many months there were, to make the transition in good faith, they just spent tons of money with misinformation and trying to pull political strings behind the scenes. So there's also this non-compliance that we don't want to be guilty of with our collective task at this time, is to transform what our actions are and base those principles that we are making decisions on to be a matter of water protection, of ecological restoration, accountability and responsibility to future generations. So I'm asking you, good members of this Public Service Commission, you know, now is your time to assure that the necessary changes will occur. So don't enable this continued exploitation, the endangerment, the ignorance of facts, and the failure of morals. So we're asking, reject this short-sighted tunnel. We need to shut down line 5. Miigwech. You wanna? Oh yeah, Leah, let's get your chair. Here you go, Moses. He's gaining weight. All right, Moses, let's say your name and you talk about your feelings.
My name's Moses Byberg, and we're going to talk about how we feel, because like how all this oil lines started, like the evil, and like how people were like doing so much pollution, including what we're talking about, the oil tunnel. Well, of course, it all comes from money, so it would feel super good if it was just like, I do not, like, it'd feel super good if today was the day we can then shut it down. Like, I do not think so, but it could happen. Like, we've been convincing from years now. This happened on for years. Like, what else would, then we react to it this way? Like, people are only trying to make money. That's why they want to run this line just to carry oil across the water and get lines. But this is destroying our earth. Like, what else would it do? It won't like help our earth. It won't plant seeds. It wouldn't help the water. It would do that. So it like, it's weird. Like, well, if people didn't even invent money, then this oil tunnel problem wouldn't be here either. Then everything would it'd be fine. Like, wouldn't it be nice to just go to these meetings and it was only a celebration was done, and we shouldn't even need to do that because money shouldn't be invented. So, like, water, yeah, it's really important. Important. I've heard, like, it reminds me, like, in, like, the Mashomas book, there are a lot of, like, big waters, and how you talk to them is, like, the same. And, like, we have, like, a big ancient cedar tree in our front yard, but, like, medicine, yeah. So, if we were just, like, the water was protected, we weren't active to do this, like, where shall we go to solve this problem? Answer, right where we're sitting.
Nice job,
And,
Moses.
like, so that's what I was talking about, the feeling of it, as if this would be, so I do not expect this to be it, but could be. So, maybe that's done with the comment.
Dwight Washington, I have no idea how you're going to top that. And then Ross Fisher.
Good afternoon, Commission. Dwight Washington from Clinton County, and I'm just kind of moved by this young champion's speech today, and I want to thank you for being here today. I'm here today to voice my opposition to Line 5 activities that threaten a cherished resource. I've spoken a number of times, like many other stewards here today, who have addressed the Commission. Today, I'm simply going to keep it short and offer my support of a land ethic and sustainability thinking in your decision-making. A land ethic is that relationship that we have with the planet or the place that we live that we can be proud of, and it can have multiple benefits and rewards for us by having that respect and ethic for it. And sustainability, the idea of being able to have a resource, a treasured resource like this for future generations. And, you know, like the little champion who spoke today, it's just, I remember, like somebody addressed today, being able to swim in waters and not have fear of being chemically contaminated or some other pollutant. So in your decision making, it seems simple. You know, the historic data is in front of us. The science and public opinion is clear. The majority of Americans and Michiganians, thank you, understand climate change is real. And land ethic and sustainability to protect the blessing and responsibility of being stewards to the Great Lakes is something that the residents and the tourist industry and a green energy future could benefit us all for future generations. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Ross Fisher, and then Dr. Jeffrey Hammersley.
Good afternoon. My name is Ross Fisher. I live in Lansing. I'm an organizer with Oil and Water Don't Mix. I want to highlight that there is no need for the Line 5 tunnel project, no public need. There are extreme environmental risks with this tunnel project, and the climate impacts of this project would spell disaster. Multiple studies have shown us that decommissioning Line 5 would not result in any major increases in oil and gas prices. When the flow of Line 5 was temporarily interrupted for a number of weeks in 2020, there were no major price changes. We know that the real threat to affordable energy prices is the price gouging by large energy corporations. The state of Michigan does not need a pipeline that uses our water as a shortcut for transporting Canadian oil. There are also a number of extreme environmental risks to be considered during the construction and post-construction of the tunnel project. Experts have stated that these risks pose a major danger not only to our water, but to the workers that would be involved in this potential project. And these risks can lead to tragedy. As we've heard, I grew up just south of Port Huron, and that's where the 1971 gas explosion in that water tunnel beneath Lake Huron killed a number of workers, and we cannot afford that risk. The tunnel project would also contradict the climate goals set by the state of Michigan. I'm really glad that this body is taking climate into consideration in this project. To seriously combat climate change, we need to transition away from fossil fuels, not be building new fossil fuel infrastructure and increasing emissions. This project would lead to an increase of 27 million metric tons of CO2 annually. We can't afford this. If the state is serious at all about achieving their climate goals, approval of this project would create a major obstacle. We cannot add more fuel to the fire that is the climate crisis. I urge you to take all these factors into consideration and reject the Line 5 tunnel project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Dr. Hammersley, and then Carol Gagliardi.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Hammersley. I'm the former chief of pulmonary critical care and sleep at the University of Toledo. I still act as a consultant for the Oak Ridge National Lab on the issues of particulate exposure, especially beryllium, and for microcystin, especially in Lake Erie. I urge you not to approve this tunnel project and to go ahead and shut down Line 5. I agree with all the other comments that have been made. Risks, the CO2, but I'd like to look or speak towards climate change and what causes the particulates in the air as a result of burning fossil fuels and what affects the growth of children's lungs, advances COPD, causes the heat exhaustion in cities like Detroit and Chicago during the summer months, exacerbates the, as I mentioned, the COPD, but it's also actually important because 6% of heart attacks are directly linked to pollution in urban areas. We don't need this. I happen to be a dual citizen between Canada and the United States. This is a Canadian project. Enbridge has 11 pipelines, okay? They don't need this, and if it's no risk, why don't they take it around to Sarnia just through Ontario? It is a shortcut that they're using to, as said before, make money, but we take all the risks. Why are we taking this risk? It's outdated, it's corroded, it's bent, and it's time to just put it to sleep. Thank you very much.
Dr. Hammersley. Carol Gagliardi, and then Anna Parker.
Hello. My name is Carol Gagliardi. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I've spent most of my life in Michigan and have enjoyed many wonderful vacations in northern Michigan near the Straits of Mackinac. I'm not a lawyer or an oil drilling engineer or a politician. I'm an artist, a musician, a gardener, and a Michigan voter. But most importantly, I'm a mom, and today I'm here to speak for my kids. They are the future. My two children have accused me and my parents' generation of destroying the planet. And they are asking me, why haven't I done anything? And I've often argued that I don't have any power and I don't have big money or deep pockets. But I do have a voice, and I have always taught them that if you see an injustice or a wrong being done, that you must speak up. So I am here today to speak up and say with 100% confidence that Line 5 and the proposed tunnel are a flat-out wrong. The oil from the pipeline does not benefit Michiganders in any substantial way. Much of it goes back to Canada. Make no mistake, the benefit all goes to the Canadian oil company Enbridge. Why don't they build it through Canada, I ask? Because the shortcut through Michigan is better in their profit margin. But the risk to the state of Michigan and the Great Lakes is huge. The disintegrating pipeline in the Mackinac Straits could easily rupture and cause an oil spill, which would devastate the Great Lakes region and 20% of the world's fresh water, which, by the way, is 90% of the fresh water in the United States. Oil contamination of our water supply would be catastrophic, and a tunnel is no answer. The environmental damage caused by its construction would be enormous, as is the real possibility of a methane explosion inside the tunnel causing a spill. In addition to those disasters, by allowing a tunnel, you would be continuing to contribute to our obscene addiction to fossil fuel. The 200 jobs the tunnel would create is trivial compared to the 200,000 Michigan jobs in the tourist industry and the millions of Michiganders who enjoy the beauty and the recreation the Great Lakes provide. You cannot let Michigan be held hostage by an oil company that has a reputation for lying or by the pockets of a few shareholders. Michiganders will benefit very little from this oil, but will suffer greatly from the harm it causes. You have the power to make the change that is desperately needed at this pivotal time. With power comes the responsibility to do the right thing for the greater good. Looking to the future, you will not be remembered by your grandchildren for helping a foreign oil company grow its profits. But if you allow this tunnel, you will be remembered for doing nothing to combat the climate crisis and for doing nothing to protect the world's largest freshwater system and all the vulnerable creatures, great and small, that rely on it for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gagliardi. I have Anna Parker and then Christian Yankees.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just say my opinion. And that's really important to me. Like the lady said right beforehand, I don't get many opportunities to stand up for what I believe in, and that's why I'm here today. I'm an entrepreneur and a business management student, and throughout all my classes, whether they're business or just general classes that apply for life, we're taught that we need to weigh the risk and reward of each decision that we make. Currently, we're not investing money, from what my understanding is of the situation, but we are investing our trust in our greatest natural resource of our state for a project that will be outdated, like in such a short amount of time that it doesn't even make sense, honestly. It's like from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense to me. With climate change happening, and it is happening and it will continue to happen, this resource that we have of fresh water will probably be our source of life for not only us, but our whole country. And we're putting it at risk for what? So someone who's retiring in 10 years can feel good about a big paycheck? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. If Michigan is truly looking into the future, we need to look into renewable energy that is less risky and provides more reward. So please stop all oil lines, because oil and water don't mix. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Christian Yankees and then Emma Parker.
Hello, good commissioners. Thank you so much for having all these amazing people speak today. I really appreciate it. Like the rest of my fellow brothers and sisters, I am here to speak out against Line 5 and the expansion into a tunnel beneath the Straits of Mackinac. As a layout for several contexts. First being, the most recent IPCC report calls for rapid, unequivocal decarbonization of the global economy. According to Enbridge, they say, well, this won't create any new increase in carbon emissions. Correct, but we're past that point. We need to go beyond no net increase to carbon drawdown and ASAP. Even if no new emissions result from Enbridge Line 5 and the tunnel, continued investment in its existence is antithetical to the clear and urgent need to have our carbon emissions by 2030 and reach carbon neutrality by 2050, a goal that Governor Whitmer, the people of Michigan, and science agree is paramount to keeping global warming at or below 1.5 degrees Celsius. I personally have absolutely no interest in continued fossil fuel dependence, a dependence that Enbridge protests is necessary. I am rapidly transitioning my home and transportation to low and no carbon energy sources, more attainable than ever, thanks to renewables, and more cost effective than fossil fuels, largely in part in the state of Michigan, thanks to this commission and your work. I laud you for that. I am not alone. This transition as more and more Michiganians realize the benefits of electrification resulting from renewable sources and the rapid implementation. A recent survey shows 67% of Michiganders want to increase the state's renewable energy capacity. 75% support Governor Whitmer's executive order calling on Michigan to reach carbon neutrality. 71% of those polled believe climate change is a serious problem. Half want combating climate change to be a priority for leaders. Line 5 tunnel is completely antithetical to the wishes of the people of Michigan and stands in opposition to the governor's carbon neutrality order. Line 5 and its proposed tunnel are becoming increasingly relevant in a rapidly expanding clean energy economy and electric vehicle production hubs in Michigan and beyond. The ostensible need for Line 5 is completely manufactured by Enbridge, and any negative repercussions of its closing can and will be filled by renewable energy in the growing circular economy. I respectfully demand that the MPSC decline to grant a certificate for Enbridge Line 5. There's no public need for it. In fact, it stands to threaten the public good. Due diligence proves Line 5's irrelevance in light of an imminent future powered by renewable energy. It unnecessarily threatens the Great Lakes terrestrial ecosystems, and it stymies Michigan's efforts to effectively address the climate crisis. Feasible and prudent alternatives, including a no pipeline option, are not only possible but favorable. Market forces are converging, which will soon make fossil fuel infrastructure stranded assets. Under your duty beneath Act 16 and the Michigan Environmental Protection Act, I ask that you deny a certificate to Enbridge. I thank you. I honor your work. I honor all of my brothers and sisters here, in particular my Indigenous brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey. We have Emma Parker and then Samantha Cooper.
Like so many people here, my best memories center around Lake Michigan. Building sandcastles, lounging on the beach as a teenager, and letting myself sink into a cold, clear bay to see the soundless lake bed 10 feet below. Because of this, I am proud to pay my income and state taxes to the state of Michigan. Many of my friends have moved away, citing better career opportunities, but I have not found it within myself to leave. I have stayed and I have paid in good faith, trusting that my investment yields good things for myself and my community. My good faith investment is being answered by a request to risk what I hold dear and the reason why I have stayed in Michigan. I personally have received no financial benefit from Line 5. No one in my community has received any benefit from Line 5. Less than 200 people in my state are employed by Enbridge. We are being asked to shoulder risk for our most valuable natural resource from the company responsible for one of the largest inland oil spills in history. A spill that, according to DOJ records, went unnoticed by Enbridge for 17 hours. We are being asked to pay into a system handing permits to Enbridge while my community receives no reward. To add insult to injury, if the worst happens and a spill occurs, despite shouldering this risk, despite no financial benefit to this risk, judging from Enbridge's track record, my community will see no restitution. This summer, I will be renting a cabin to spend time on the lake with my friends and their small children. I have to ask myself if these kids will be able to spend their teenage years on a beach like I did. We get no benefit, but we are sacrificing their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. The last card I have here for people in the room is Samantha Cooper. Samantha, before you start, if anybody else is here and wants to speak today, I encourage you to fill out a card and we'll make sure that we get you in, and then we'll go to the remote options. Ms. Cooper?
Hi, I'm Samantha Cooper. Thank you all for listening today, and let's all just take a big, deep breath. You guys have given a lot of really amazing comments, and it's inspiring to hear everyone here. Everybody cares a lot. I'm here speaking for so many Midwesterners who can't be here today, who are working, who want to express their grave concern for this project. I was a Kalamazoo resident during the Enbridge oil spill in 2010. I'm here now representing Kalamazoo Remembers, a grassroots organization that exists to remember the devastation of the 2010 spill and to prevent further harm in other watersheds. If pipelines are truly the safest way to transport oil, which I doubt, then we have to reassess because the spill rate statistics for pipelines are abysmal and many of the cleanups are woefully incomplete, including on the Kalamazoo River. I know this because I've been present for monoman or wild rice restoration projects on the river, where there's still a troubling sheen in the water among other unremediated contaminants.
I'd like to read a quote from Christopher F. Jones of Time magazine from the article titled, "There's No Such Thing as a Spill-Proof Way to Transport Oil." Historian Sean Karaj has recently demonstrated that even a pipeline that has operated with a 99.999% success rate in Canada has averaged a spill and a half a year and discharged about 5.8 million liters of oil over the past 40 years. So a very low failure rate, one that's likely to be understated as it relies so heavily on self-reporting by leakers, therefore can still produce heavy environmental damage. I spent last summer in Minnesota trying to help resist the Line 3 Enbridge pipeline, and it rocked me to my core. I'm still processing it. I'm one of over 1,000 defendants now who were charged for attempting to peacefully protest just by standing there, attempting to protect the headwaters of the Mississippi, which suffered over 25 frackouts by Enbridge shortly thereafter. I will be taking what I deem to be an unjust charge to trial later this year with my co-defendants. When I returned from Minnesota, I created a collaborative song and video outlining the asks of this broad-based growing water protector movement, because until this point, I mostly worked as a freelance musician and a facilitator, so I had to somehow put the worlds together. The video single is called Let the Waves, and I would be so honored if each of you would consider looking it up and watching it on YouTube, because probably about 50 people put everything that they had into it to try to give a quick summation of this growing movement and their asks, which I think are perfectly reasonable and not radical, BTW. As past behavior shows, Enbridge has not gained our trust. People don't have to be perfect, but people that are holding our watershed, our waters, need to be more perfect than Enbridge has been. We need only the most trustworthy people to hold our waters in their hands. We need energy sources that aren't directly violating treaty rights. There are renewable energy sources that don't require either pipelines or complicity in ecological degradation and environmental racism. The UN Secretary General has called one of the most recent IPCC reports Code Red for humanity. We don't need to move past debating about which way to transport oil. We have to. We don't have a choice anymore. These IPCC reports are going to continue to get worse, and they're already abysmal. So I think we need to begin transitioning into renewable energy sources that actually guarantee a somewhat livable future. And I really appreciate you all listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. We did get one more card from Erica Dutton. Ms. Dutton is here. So.
Thank you. I'm Erica Dutton from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm not going to repeat what other people have already said in opposition to Line 5. I agree with 99% of what's been said. What I wanted to add was my experience with a previous huge oil spill. I grew up in Florida on the Gulf of Mexico, and I spent every weekend almost from early spring to late fall on the beach. The water was pristine. Now, I go back to Florida every year, and it's no longer pristine. When I saw BP explosion and saw the millions of gallons gushing into the Gulf of Mexico, I about had a stroke. Every time I saw the news, I cried. I don't want that happening here. Now, there may be different reasons, but it will happen. And I just can't see another episode like that again. It's not cleaned up. Despite what Florida says, despite what BP said, I can feel it on my skin. I can see it in the water. And I know there's other sources of pollution besides oil. But you can't have that millions and millions of gallons of oil going into the Gulf of Mexico or any body of water and have it cleaned up. It's not possible. So please, let's just finish this once and for all and vote no on this and just end it. I'm tired of this over and over again, it serves nothing for us. Thank you.
Ms. Dutton? We have gotten another card, John Zach Woodward.
Hello, Commissioners, and hello, everyone here today. I want to first start my time by just thanking everyone for being here, on planet Earth and here in this room today, and I appreciate and love every single one of you. I want to start by acknowledging the thing that I assume everybody is aware of in this room. It's already been spoken to today, but the Great Lakes are the largest reserve of fresh water in the world. And we live in this place, amongst this resource. We also live in the place that is the safe haven for humanity. And this is something that's also been spoken to today. And I want to revisit this concept, and this is the idea that I want to explore with my time. It is predicted that within the next 50 years, we are going to lose habitability of our equatorial regions from increased heat. We are also going to lose the coastal regions from increased water levels. We are going to lose regions of volatility, increasing volatility, that are susceptible to extreme weather events. In addition to this, we are also facing 50 years of mass migration and people fleeing the parts of the world that will become increasingly uninhabitable. In addition to all this, another thing that's going to happen in these next 50 years is this region of the world is predicted to be one of the most stable and habitable places in the world. Not the only, but and it has everything to do with the water. It is both, of course, our source of clean drinking water, but it is also a regulatory force in the climate. I want us all in this room to think very seriously about the people who will be fleeing the uninhabitable parts of the world within the next 50 years, which will continue to become close to half of where people live currently today. Where are these people going to go? They're going to go where the water is, and they're going to go where it's stable. They're going to come here. And I just want to take this time to seriously reflect on the fact that we are not making a decision about water for people who live in the state or even people who live on this continent. We are talking about the safe haven for humanity. We are talking about a place on Earth that will carry our species into the future. Not the only place, but probably the most important place. And it has everything to do with the water that's here. And so I just really, really want to take this time to think about our future generations and the human species at large. It's not really about saving the planet, it's about saving us. The planet's always been taking care of itself and us. It's arrogant to think that we can save the thing that literally has brought us here. If we're talking about saving humanity, it starts with eliminating this tunnel, eliminating Line 5, and that's all. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, Mr. Woodward. So we have 3 minutes before we have to wrap up, and I apologize to those who are participating virtually and on the phone option. We have one more card from Charles King, so I'd invite Mr. King to come forward. And then again, if there are folks who, particularly those who are participating and haven't had a chance to speak, who want to add comments on this, we can take those through MPSC dockets@michigan.gov or MPSC_commissioners.gov. We very much want to hear from you. That also applies to all of you who have spoken. If you want to add your comments or submit written comments for what you've said, we've all been taking notes. I think it's been obvious, but we'd love to hear from you. Again, MPSC dockets@michigan.gov or MPSC_commissioners@michigan.gov. And with that, Mr. King, I'll let you have the last word on this.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles King, and I'm a retired electrical engineer living in Detroit. Our legislature in Michigan is dominated by politicians whose ultimate ambition seems to be managing the economy and doing so by serving the short-term interests of big corporations. You may have been appointed by some of these politicians, and you may believe that your proper role is to develop Michigan's economy and that private corporations serve our interests in this regard. But our long-term prosperity is threatened by damage to public resources through heating our atmosphere and polluting our water. One of the more popular ambitions of the last presidential administration was to build a wall across the 1,000-mile southern border in a farcical attempt to keep out so-called illegal aliens from Mexico and Central America. Our policy of supporting and subsidizing fossil fuel corporations is driving global warming, and as it progresses, it may well cause crop failures and massive suffering beginning to our south, leading to waves of millions of climate refugees crossing our southern border. But the real illegal aliens who are threatening our way of life are not starving Mexican farmers trying to climb over our walls and sneak across our borders to put our short-term private profits at risk. The truth is that the private depends on the public. The people of Michigan cannot truly prosper in the long term without a healthy climate and without clean drinking water. These are our most important public assets. The real illegal aliens are the Canadian executives of the Enbridge Corporation, who are defying the legal orders of our governor by continuing to pump oil through Line 5. They don't need to sneak across a wall. They want you to approve construction of a tunnel for them to move their oil. That oil is degrading our climate and poses a grave risk of oil spills in the Mackinac Straits, the very heart of the Great Lakes. Money from Enbridge is also corrupting our government and shifting its focus from the real needs of Michigan's people. The true responsibility of the Michigan Public Resources Commission is to protect our long-term interests and to protect our public lands and waters. That is what the people of Michigan need from you. If you understand the true needs of the public that you are here to serve in the role of commissioners, you will reject this permit application for an oil tunnel across the Mackinac Straits. Thank you for your time and for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. King. And thank all of you for coming out. We very much appreciate the feedback from those who are Social Security eligible to those who are 8, and everybody in between. So I do appreciate you making time for this. Before we adjourn, just a few quick announcements. First, the Commission is hosting a public hearing to get public input on Indiana-Michigan Power Company's long-term energy plan, or what we call an integrated resource plan. That public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. and will be a virtual meeting using the Microsoft Teams application, and more information on how to participate is available on our website, michigan.gov/MPSC. Second, we submitted the MPSC's annual report to the legislature earlier this month, and that report is also available on our website. The annual report highlights how energy affordability and reliability remain key priorities for the Commission as Michigan dealt with continuing challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and significant power outages from increasingly severe weather fueled by climate change. The report also details developments with the Energy Affordability and Accessibility Collaborative, the Year 2 accomplishments relating to our My Power Grid initiative, ongoing customer assistance issues, an update on our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, issues relating to broadband expansion and access, and a host of other issues. And I particularly want to congratulate the staff of the Commission for their continued diligence and commitment to the people of Michigan and all that work. And then finally, a couple updates on upcoming meeting schedule. We will be canceling the Commission meeting currently scheduled for July 21st and changing the date of the meeting currently scheduled for Thursday, July 28th to Wednesday, July 27th. And finally, the August 24th meeting is being rescheduled for Tuesday, August 23rd, and a revised 2022 Commission meeting schedule will be posted to the Commission's website by the end of this week to reflect the changes. Are there other announcements or comments?
That's news to me as well, so that's good to know.
It's your birthday. Well, with that, we'll conclude today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 14th, 2022 at 1 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Phillips?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Not if he's not like.
So long in a while.
I know.